Okay, this is Niamh Moore-Cherry interviewing Paul Murphy on the 5th of December 2018 in H004 in Newman. So Paul, first of all, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. So I suppose we'll start with a kind of a very broad question. If you can tell me a little bit about where the idea for the internship program kind of came from.
Yeah, I suppose some of it came from looking forward, I suppose, in terms of the new degree, in terms of we were part of the program team putting together the new degree, and internships play a role within that degree, obviously, and that's something that is kind of being worked on now. But with that sort of long view, I suppose we started to think about how do we talk to companies and organisations about internships, and we should have realised that actually having first-hand experience of it would be a really good first step to, I suppose, understanding what it is to even to run a competition, to bring on board interns, what kind of stuff they can potentially do for you, and some of the opportunities that it provides to a team to bring on board interns. So it was very useful from that perspective, I suppose, and that was something we definitely had in mind. This all obviously played out in a sort of setting where students as partners was ingrained from a very early stage. You know, we had constantly been thinking about how we can make students central to the process of setting up the new degree, the new program office, the new, all the structures that kind of go around that. So I suppose it was the logical step then was to incorporate students into that process formally and for a sustained period whenever we actually had a need as well for extra support. Because obviously during the summer we were quite short of staff compared to where we are now. We still had an awful lot of things to put together. We had just moved into a big program office and we had about two of us sitting there there was a tumbleweed passing through, and we realised we had a lot of projects that were kind of set aside maybe, or that we had a lot of things to put together. Some of them, like for example the orientation stuff, which was very much student based, revolved around peer mentors for quite a bit of so it was just really a logical step to bring on board I think the interns, and Mary had a very clear vision, I suppose, as to how they could be used. She had experience of it previously, so she was able to bring that into it as well.
Brilliant. And can you tell me a little bit about how you set it up? So I suppose in terms of how you thought about recruiting students and that whole process, how that worked.
Yeah, I suppose first and foremost it was good that Mary had some kind of inkling as to what it would look like. We said from the start, and I suppose it's something that, looking back on it, it's kind of central to how we're actually now acting going forward in terms of the stage 3 internships, but that we were wanting it to be clearly defined as what an internship was as opposed to work experience. That we wanted students not to feel like it was any old summer job, that it was something unique, something different that they could add to their CVs and that they could get paid for as well. So we wanted to make sure that it was an opportunity that was open to everybody who studied social sciences, or social science subjects as it was, I suppose, across the university. And from there we kind of worked out a bit of a job description or a role description and sort of sent it out to everybody and anybody. We probably didn't anticipate the interest.
Okay.
We ended up having 160 odd applications.
Wow.
Which we had two roles on offer. There was sort of one that was distinctly for marketing, because our marketing team wanted someone, and then there was one which was more sort of student support related in terms of the program office. Myself and Jenny whittled down that second role to I think 27 interviews.
Okay, that's still a lot.
Yeah, and we just found that the candidates were very, very strong, and we ended up bringing on board considerably more interns than we expected.
Okay.
Some of that was due to capacity issues in terms of we had some staff who we had been expecting to come into the office on a full-time basis who ended up going to different roles, and so there ended up being extra need. So we ended up bringing on board 6 interns. Whenever we thought that 2 or 3 was probably the likely sort of setup. But it wasn't really an issue in terms of we didn't feel like it was just for the sake of it. We felt like we had lots of projects, and that we could group them into project teams as well to make sure that they kind of did a bit of support, I suppose, from within their own kind of network and things like that. But also then we realised that actually lots of people within the office could do with someone to kind of help on
Great.
getting certain projects off the ground, and so that was I
Brilliant.
suppose the surprising element.
And how did the team work together? I suppose, was there a lot of hand holding of students, or did they sort of hit the ground running when they came in, or what support was provided to them to enable them to kind of become a full part of the team?
Yeah. So we had a induction session, or sort of a training morning, I suppose, to produce some documentation for and things like that, just so that they could get an idea, even just the practicalities of working in the office, who people were, how to get certain things, what kind of the general expectations were of the internship as opposed to work experience. It was something, I suppose, that we discussed with them as well. We didn't feel like it was, it was their internship to define.
Yes,
we obviously had projects we wanted to get sort of off the ground, but it wasn't necessarily something where we said, you're going to do this and this and this and this. It was very much kind of blue sky thinking was definitely the theme of the first day. Okay. And we said, we'll reel it in after that, but we'll see what will be great and what will be ideal when we're dealing with these sort of situations. They were kind of divided into about 3 project teams, and the marketing team was kind of separate.
Okay.
But all largely based in the same office, but kind of grouped and seated, I suppose, in their teams.
Okay.
And there was generally one member of staff sort of assigned to each team, or who principal, I suppose, responsibility of sort of supporting and advising and kind of, being the point of contact. Worked differently for everyone.
I was going to say, how did the different staff approach that in different ways? Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, from my perspective, it was the first time that I had, I suppose, any kind of, oversight of being kind of line manager, even on that sort of short-term sort of basis. And I think it was the same for at least one of the other members of staff. So it was a good experience, obviously, for us from that perspective. Yeah. But it also meant that there was just very different styles in terms of some of us were more hands-on, some of us were more hands-off.
Yeah.
I think that was fine. I mean, the nature of the work was very different. Some of it was go in, think of something and come back after you've done a lot of research. And some of it was, having to work very closely on a sort of constant basis and being in I suppose, closer contact and maybe going off and working together, or in a room together, because that was just how it had to work. So no, there was a lot of variety. I think that was a good thing, but I think that was natural as well.
And how did the students react to that? Because I know sometimes, as an academic, if you give them something to do and you kind of you sort of say, well, it's your responsibility, off you go and come back to me when you're ready. Some students love that, some hate it. What was the experience of the interns? Yeah,
we definitely had that mixture. So some people were surprised that they were kind of given so much sort of free rein, I suppose, to go off and to think of things themselves and to do a bit of research and to talk to other people and then come back. Whereas a couple of them probably would prefer a lot closer, or maybe just weren't used to being given that freedom and that sort of space for creativity, and it kind of was a bit not overwhelming, but just a bit of a shock to the system as much as anything. And maybe took them a little bit of time to get used to it, and that's actually where the teams kind of came in to the fore, I suppose, in that they were able to help each other. So we didn't really have a situation, I don't think, where all the members of the team were kind of put out by that, if you know what I mean. So generally they were able to support each other in that kind of way and offer. They were as much, I suppose, co-leading each other at times, if you know what I mean. Which was nice to see, I suppose, because you kind of got to see students who didn't know each other working together and able to kind of come at it from different perspectives based on their own experiences and things like that.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And in terms of the kind of, I suppose, the workload for staff, because you were already very stretched, so in terms of the amount of time and energy that you had to input into it, would you say that was harder than you expected, or was it a bit easier?
Yeah.
Was it worth doing, I suppose?
Yeah, it was definitely worth doing. It was harder than I expected, I suppose, because some of mine were so productive. They constantly kind of... I was surprised just how much research or how much sort of productivity they were able to sort of get into through a day. I mean, they managed to come up with a lot of ideas and to be constantly kind of saying, okay, and if we do this, then what's the next step? How do we push this on to the next? And they wanted to sort of progress. And it kind of was, I suppose, a case of having to set aside time to sort of map out where we were and to update it constantly to make sure that we had almost prepared ourselves to move on to the next step by the time they got there. So that was I suppose, the the biggest, probably the biggest surprise for me, I suppose, is just how much